Welcome into an early live stream today. We'll be diving into the Ethereum ETF and maybe how this plays out in the markets in the immediate future. But I think there's some things that could be brewing long-term here on a handful of different projects. We'll give you all a breakdown of that today. My name is Paul Barrow. Welcome back into Tech Path. Before we get started, I want to thank our sponsor today, and that is Margex. If you guys want to get into some active trading out there and you want to do it in a new way, you can, of course, buy, you can do derivatives, do a lot of copy trading over there as well. This is one of those platforms that does not require KYC, so you can get it into the U.S. No problem there. A lot of benefits here with Margex, and we've got a couple of offers available. If you sign up, you get up to $100 in deposits. You'll be able to get that back in rewards. And then also using our code down below are going to activate some promo benefits afterwards. So when you get in, use the PBN20 code, and you guys will be able to do that. So no KYC or VPN needed. It's very trading oriented too for maybe new people that are getting in trading. So check it out. See if you guys think it works for you. I want to go over and just remind everybody, we are nearing the 450,000 subscriber mark. We're going to hit 500 this year. I know it. And I think we may blow past that. But the point is, subscribe to the channel. If you're brand new here, go ahead and give us a subscription now. And of course, share these videos because it does help get these out there into the YouTube algorithm for people who maybe are just now beginning to learn about Ethereum. So do that. We appreciate it. Let's get into the news today. A couple of points I want to jump onto is this right here, the ETHness stakes. I like this one. This was, of course, came in from Balshunas. So it's kind of showing all the different operations with ETH. I'm looking at this, thinking racehorses right now. But anyway, all the different platforms that are available for ETH. And of course, you guys can kind of see how it's trending right there. Of course, the starting fees still at 0, which I think is going to be a big one. Grayscale is kind of leading the way right now. We'll show some inflows and give you guys some insights on how that is. Don't forget to put some questions in over on the side. We'll try to get to some of those toward the end of the show. Maybe we might take a few in the middle. We'll see how things are going. Arkham, of course, coming in all-time or all ETH ETFs now in Arkham. They've identified on-chain locations of most of those, so you can go and take a look at that over on Arkham. You can kind of see some of the transactions that are occurring. Here's BlackRock right there, and you can kind of see not only the price, but obviously the holdings right now at 10.62 million. And of course, this is still very early in the day, so a lot happening here. And I think the question will be how this holds out for the rest of the day. Here's Grayscale, of course, leading the way on inflows on all of that. So this is going to be one, I think, to watch. And kind of the thing that everybody's been anticipating here is about 20% of what Bitcoin's first day was, which was around 4 billion. I've got some stats on that. The question will be, can Ethereum also pace in that way? If it gets to that point, in my opinion, that would be a huge win. Anything over 20% would be significantly above what I think a lot of analysts have pinned the Ethereum ETF to do. So good stuff. I want to go to a clip real quick. This first clip is Pompliano. He's talking about the Ethereum ETF and how this may roll out. Take a look.
Spot Ethereum ETF set to begin trading today. The SEC approved ETF applications from 21 shares, Bitwise, BlackRock, Fidelity iShares, VanEck and Franklin Templeton, along with Invesco Galaxy and other milestone. Anthony Pompliano is here, founder and CEO of Professional Capital Management. Pop, it's nice to see you.
Good to see you.
You think this is a game changer or not really? You seem less excited this morning than when you were here on Bitcoin Day.
Yeah, well, let's go look at the Bitcoin ETF. I think, historic thing, probably the best ETF launch in history. One of the interesting stats is that the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF has had more net flows than QQQ year to date. Right, so just massive flows there, over $500 million just yesterday alone. And so I think what a lot of people say is, well, that was the first one. Is the second one going to be as big? And I don't think that's true, right? If you just go and, before I came on, I looked at all the major news sites. People aren't talking about it as much. And so the media attention, the hype, all that stuff isn't really there. And so it brings you to the question of why are people not talking about it as much? And I think part of the challenge for Ethereum is that the story isn't as clear. It's very clear with Bitcoin, right? It's digital gold. When we start talking about Ethereum, we start talking about a technology platform. There's a lot more competition, et cetera. But if you go and you talk to the people at Bitwise, they're launching ETH today. Yep. What they would tell you is, well, actually, there's diversification. People on Wall Street love that. And so maybe actually the benefit that Ethereum will have is just people say, well, I don't want to have just one. I want to have a couple of them. It's Bitcoin, it's Ethereum. Let me do like a 70-30 split, and that'll be good enough for it.
I'm going to agree with Pompliano there, is that you will see a lot of these portfolios try to look at, alternating balances and really looking at hedging your bet a little bit on two completely different ecosystems. If you look at BlackRock, this was their Ether pitch to normies. And while many see Bitcoin as the key appeal in its scarcity, many find Ethereum's appeal in its utility. You could think of Ethereum as a global platform for applications that run without decentralized intermediaries. I mean, essentially, that's kind of the next generation of the internet. I think a lot of people will get that, especially some of the premium asset managers that will start to play into this market. And here's the thing, when you look at the asset managers, and what I mean by the managers themselves, the makeup, the demographic of these asset managers, if you have asset managers like a VanEck that I feel are much more forward-thinking, 21 shares, more forward-thinking. I'm not saying that others are bad, but they look toward more innovative technologies, and I think that's where Ethereum will shine in those particular funds. And the cool thing here, too, is remember, you got a lot of asset managers that are independent, whether it's family offices, et cetera, that are trending quite a bit younger, and I think Ethereum is going to end up being one of the picks that they choose. Here, of course, was iShares, so you guys can, of course, learn a little bit here. They're one of the launches. We're going to be getting them, actually, we're going to get some of the funds on this week, so hopefully we'll be able to get a little bit more insight onto how these are going to play out for them, and also whether or not the success of what they're expecting with the ETH launch has been able to live up to the hype. Even though I think the hype, to Pompliano's point, is maybe not has been as strong, obviously, as the Bitcoin ETF. Doesn't necessarily mean we won't see the income or the inflows coming in today, for sure. If it hits 20%, I think this is the key one right here. Franklin Templeton, of course, very forward-thinking, again, like the profile picture. And I think that's the thing. The advertising begins, the promotion component starts to begin, and this is when I think people will still weigh their options. The other thing that is going to be interesting to me is how this may play out even for people who are on the fence with Ethereum. And what I mean by that is people that are maybe have been accustomed to buying Ethereum on an exchange and then all of a sudden say, I might jump over to Fidelity, or I might jump over to an exchange and buy my Ethereum there and go that route. That would be, I think that could be a larger percentage of the investing population out there than many people expect. So that itself, of course, will only benefit on bolstering these inflows. I want to go to another clip. This one, of course, is the ETH ETF predictions coming in from BlackRock. Take a look.
Samara Cohen is here, Chief Investment Officers of ETF and Index Investment at BlackRock. You've got a lot of skin in this game here. Any sense that of the size of what this could attract? I mean, Bitcoin is, what, 1.3 trillion in assets under management? Ethereum maybe 400 billion, so it's a third the size. I'm trying to get a sense of what kind of inflows you're expecting.
Sure, everybody's trying to get a sense, but the important thing to keep in mind is that this is early days. We are 6 months into the trading of Bitcoin ETFs and 15 years into transactions on the Bitcoin blockchain. We are 4 hours into trading of Ether ETFs and 9 years into transactions on the Ethereum blockchain. And Bob, these are totally different use cases. So while Bitcoin is really known for its scarcity, its 21 million finite supply, Ether is a totally different use case. Ether is known for its utility. It is a programmable blockchain designed to let developers build decentralized applications on the blockchain ecosystem. So for people like us who are, really interested in what the next phase of markets will look like, and is there the possibility to deploy new technology to create innovative use cases and applications, this is a really important space to watch in Ethereum. That's a great pitch for Ethereum. Smart contracts, decentralized finance, and uses blockchain in a completely different way. Are people going to understand that? Is this going to attract people who are actually interested in learning about this new technology that's different than Bitcoin? Bitcoin may be easier for people to understand in a very high-level pitch. Bitcoin has gotten a lot of attention by people calling it digital gold. It may take more time for people to understand the applications of Ethereum, and that makes sense given the breadth of applications and the breadth of potential use cases. I think, Bob, they are complements to each other, and it's going to be really interesting to see how both play out in the portfolio. We now have two of them. Is there going to be more? Bitcoin and Ether, in our view, are really the ones that meet the bar in order to provide the liquidity, market quality, and tracking through an ETF wrapper for investors. So you'll have to have me back at a later date, Bob.
All right. Well, I like her pitch in the sense that innovation is kind of leaning in on the ETH side of things. I anticipate that this is going to be much faster than in terms of market take up than what we've seen with other ETFs, not necessarily the Bitcoin ETF. Bitcoin, I think, just has such an allure to it from investors as a whole. But pushing on into kind of the next generation, I think this will accelerate quicker. And the thing that might really change the future here is the accelerant of the ecosystem of what's happening within Ethereum, especially when asset managers and traditional large net worth individuals start to look at it as a true innovation class investment and start to move their money there. And I think that's the thing that you have to consider. When you consider that, you have to look at how they're marketing. And here's Bitwise, a good example, introducing ETHW. And I like the fact that they're doing a few features here. Fund investments directly into ETH, 0.2 on the management fee, 0 for the first 6, and then up to 500 mil. Donates 10% of the profits to Ethereum open source developers. Pretty cool. Funds Ethereum addresses for public transparency, and then built by crypto specialists. So they're going after it in the sense of much like a startup. If you think about how startups go out to market in an IPO, et cetera, and asset managers are out there trying to raise money in those areas. This is a good example of what I think is happening with a lot of the ETH purveyors here that we've seen so far. And I think this is the one that's going to be one to watch very closely in the next few weeks. Here was another tweet right here. We're thrilled to have collaborated with Bitwise to enhance the transparency for the ETH using subnames. So Bitwise is now assigning subnames to all addresses holding on-chain assets backing their ETF. So also kind of drinking the Kool-Aid here in terms of how this is going to work from an accounting standpoint. So don't forget, put some questions in over on the side. We'll try to get some of those. We'll take a look at some of the charts as well and get all that good stuff going in. One other point I wanted to hit on, there were some notes here on this article right here, Ethereum name service. Remember ENS, this is one we've talked about before on the show quite a bit. And whales are now buying on a buying spree, so a little bit of activity flowing out here. This is, think of this as the GoDaddy for Ethereum, put it that way. Pretty simple to follow along. Currently trading at 27.38. On-chain analysis now shows things are happening behind the scenes that could soon send ENS in that direction. So not bad. This will be one to look at. Large holders net inflows show that the accumulation began around the 21st. So kind of in timing here with obviously the ETF, and I think we'll see more of this in the coming weeks, months, with a lot of these kind of projects that kind of encompass around what ETH is doing as a whole, especially ones that are more advanced into kind of the technology forefront that is well known, such as name services. When you think about just what's happening in TLDs with top level domains like GoDaddy. Here's another one. I want to jump. This is a clip here of one of the ads. I think this is the VanEck ad. Let's take a look.
Let there be an open source network where money flows more transparently. Let there be transactions without resource-intensive mining activities. Let there be tech that can unchain. Your code is the key. Let Ether be. Enter the Ether with ETHV. You can now get Ether exposure for 0 fees with the VanEck Ethereum ETF.
ETH, so I think that will definitely hit, obviously with Pudgy Penguin there on the brand, hit most likely Gen Zs and maybe some millennials that really understand the NFT side of it. Maybe VanEck is that play there for that particular audience. And I think the targeting, the marketing, they get it. They know who they're targeting in terms of the marketing versus when you look at what BlackRock is doing versus 21 shares. I think each of these funds have a certain demographic they're going after, and it might be similar to the demographic that they already serve in other funds within their organization. So kind of cool to see them going that direction. This was the VanEck CEO talking about the fees and also what ETFs are coming next. Take a look.
First off, are they tracking Ether? People ask me that. And do you think Ether ETFs can be the hit Bitcoin ETFs were when they launched 7 months ago?
Yes and no. They're trading very well. Ethereum products have traded around the world for several years now, and the launch was very smooth. I think there are a lot of kinks when it came to the Bitcoin ETFs in January, but now things are going well. The interest in Ethereum's market cap is like a third of Bitcoin's, and I think investor interest will be less. Today's flows are in the 10 to 20% range of Bitcoin's flows, so a lot lower interest.
Now, you launched with zero fees again for the first year, I think, and most others also have zero fees as well for the full, at least for the next 6 months. You did this with Bitcoin ETFs as well. This is costing you a lot of money to float these two things. What's the rationale for no fees? You can get in for nothing, essentially.
Yeah, I think what people are doing is moving some of their existing holdings into the ETF format. And in order for issuers to entice that movement, they waive the fees early on, so it's not suddenly I'm getting it for free and now I have to pay more in the ETF. Yeah. So I think that, and it worked.
I guess the bigger question is this going to open the floodgate for other crypto ETF assets out there?
I don't think so. We filed for a Solana ETF, and Solana is competing with Ethereum, but I don't think that's going to be a short-term listing.
You don't think so?
No.
What about a regime change in Washington?
Then yes. Then yes. Yes. The parties have really split in terms of their support of blockchain software.
Okay. We're going to have a lot more on this. He's just scratching the surface. He has a lot of opinions on this, folks. Much more on Ethereum ETFs, Bitcoin ETFs, and crypto ETFs in general coming up on ETF Edge. 1:10 p.m. Eastern Time. Jan will be joined by Ben Johnson.
All right, so the one thing to note here with some of these clips is that, and I think this is really the bigger picture here, and it's almost surreal if you think about this, because we've been covering crypto for many years, and we have never seen the acceptance of Wall Street. And this is where we are now. I mean, it has been a massive wave of acceptance across a variety of ETFs, but I think also just in general of how blockchain is working, especially as we start to see things around RWAs. And I think the tokenization of securities, all of that's going to play into the future, but it's happening much faster than even I anticipated, and I'm very bullish on this technology and where it's going. So that in itself, I think, is the part that is, I mean, it's kind of not really an I told you so moment, but it is very surreal to see this happening so much on the mainstream networks here. Here, of course, coming in from CoinDesk, ETH rises above the 35 ahead of the ETH ETF. We saw that. Inflow concerns are a little bit in play here. And a couple of things, let me kind of zoom in on this. I don't know if you guys have been seeing this, but I just want to make sure that's not giving you guys this. But market participants are also closely monitoring Grayscale. This is 9 billion ETH trust. There's concerns that Grayscale's potential selling pressure could counteract the positive effects of new inflows. So this is kind of similar to what happened with Bitcoin, even though I think Bitcoin just kind of blasted through that. But remember, Bitcoin had that, I think it was 1 or 2 days of good positive growth on the launch of the ETF, and then we saw the downtrend, and then, of course, off it went. But this could cause some exerting downward pressure on Ethereum in the early going here if we do see some activity there. So definitely something to keep an eye on. All right, just as a reminder, if you guys don't, if you're not subscribed, you're just now joining the live stream, we are trying to hit the 500 or we're trying to get the 500K mark by end of year, but we're going for this 450 right now. So make sure and subscribe. We're just a couple hundred subscribers away. So hit that. We'd love to kind of have you guys as part of the PBN family. And it's great because, of course, this is going to get into your algorithm and help you share this out with other people that maybe have not completely jumped on to the crypto bandwagon. Here's Eric Balchunas talking a little bit about the early day inflows, and this was what he considered halftime, nearly 600 mil so far, putting them on pace to hit $1 billion change by end of day, which could be at about 20% of the 4.6 billion that Bitcoin ETFs did on day one. So at that point, and remember, a lot of analysts were saying 20% would be a huge win if it happens for day one. And again, remember, I think this first week is the critical week because this will be one to watch. And you can kind of see some of the leaders right now as Grayscale, BlackRock, of course, leading the way. But Fidelity, much like Bitcoin, Fidelity, Bitwise right behind it, though, Matt Hogan. So Grayscale, VanEck, Franklin, Invesco, and then 21 shares coming in, but totaling on the half-day mark. This will continue to move as we go forward. I think Safert had some updates here. This was through 1:30, which was about an hour ago, and correcting the formulas. ETHs are on track, or ETH ETFs are on track right now to be a bit shy of the 1 billion in trading, on track to hit 940 million, 2.5 hours left. 932 million would be 20%. So we're close. It's going to be very interesting to see this play out. We'll probably have some more tweets in before the end of the stream today. Maybe we'll catch a 2:30 to 3 o'clock number. Other things to consider right here. One way to decide which ETF is which issuer has the most skin in the game. And there's a lot of people that are looking at this right now. Notable, and this is something we've talked about before on our show, VanEck. Sure, they've had, I would say, a lot of awareness around ETH, and their team has been very active within the ecosystem. But notably, VanEck seed 10 million is the second largest, only 10% smaller than BlackRock, who literally 100x'd on their AUM versus than us. So pretty intriguing that you got VanEck kind of running right there with the big dogs. So, which I think this is going to be something that we will see more and more, is maybe a little bit of a shifting of the table in terms of where the ETH powerhouse is from an ETF standpoint, because the dynamics are different in terms of the investor class. I think, again, we could still get a blow-by on BlackRock just because of their reach and them right now, of course, leading the pack. But we'll see how this plays out over that first month, first week. We'll probably start to get some indicators, much like what we had with the Bitcoin ETF, because I think a lot of people were right there as well. Polymarket's getting into the fray here. Ethereum all-time high. Many people are saying, well, when would that be? Right now, Q3 is the bet target at about 23% chance. Q4 coming in at 29. And then you've got no ATH in 2024. So interesting stuff here. And I'd love to get you guys' feedback. Let me know, drop some comments down below if you think that Ethereum is going to hit an all-time high this year. And make sure and participate in the poll. If you're not already voted, vote in on that poll. I'd love to see kind of how you guys are seeing some of the feedback there on where the market is going. Lots of questions coming in. And I just want to make sure we've got the queue coming in. Yep, looks good. All right, excellent. Yeah, okay. Do you guys want to show poll today or right now? All right, let's go to the first poll. Let's take a look at that one. All right, so here we go. ETH ETF inflows first week, below expectations, meet or exceed. So people right now pending on the below that surprises me a little bit. I know we have a lot of Solana people in the house, probably a lot of Avalanche people in the house, but I feel like this may be right at expectations. Based on, I mean, it depends on what expectations are. If you're talking about market analysts' expectations, 20%, that's probably a little bit soft, I feel. Again, this will all depend on how the market plays out. You have to also remember the political landscape that we are facing right now. And that is shifting away from, the president stepping down and now the vice president coming into the Democratic position for the nomination. All of this has pressure on what the markets are doing. So interesting timing here across all of what's happening with crypto. Will Ethereum hit 10K in 2024? Right now, there's a 13% chance on it. And this is something that many of the analysts that I talk to, crypto analysts, chart guys, etc., they're still looking for later in the year or early 2024 as a potential for an ETH run. So we'll get that. We've got one more poll, so don't forget to vote on that. We'll try to get to that in a second. One more chart here on Polymarket. What price will ETH reach in July? Here, everybody's kind of pointing in right there at 3,700 at 45%. Could follow along, and this would be aggressive too, with at 3,700. 3,900 coming in 19, 41, and 43, kind of positioning on that. Kind of curious, have many of you guys used Polymarket to actually place a bet? Kind of curious. We've got guys in the crypto pit. They've been using it. Some are winning, some are losing. So it's kind of a mixed bag there for sure. Peter Schiff, of course, he has to come in on the topic today because why not? You've got to be able to play the spoil. Today, several ETFs began trading. Not only will this likely be a buy the rumor, sell the fact event for Ethereum, but it's also bearish for Bitcoin, as ETF investors sell some of their Bitcoin ETFs to reallocate into a position. Even though, wasn't the numbers like 500 million on the day for Bitcoin in terms of inflows? No, on the day for today. I'm kind of curious. Yeah, yeah, because we were tracking on ETH opening day compared to what is active inflows on Bitcoin. So this is just the typical Peter Schiff tweet, which hey, we love Pete. You got to have the alternative side of things. Eric Balchunas hits up right here, says new ETH ETFs will not be available for purchase on Vanguard. Not exactly a shocker given their Bitcoin ETFs ban, but confirmed nonetheless. Not a surprise on Vanguard, even though they got their new CEO. I kind of thought we might see a little bit of a shift there, but this is interesting. The Vanguard has opted out of this crypto craze when it comes to Wall Street getting so active within the space. It's because eventually you're going to get there with almost every fund on the street dealing with whether it is what we're going to see on mixed bag funds, and we've seen some that now are looking at mixed bag where we'll see Bitcoin, Ethereum, and even Solana playing a role on this. So I think it's just a matter of time where we start to see a lot of these really kind of come in. Here's another clip that is talking about that very thing, and that is how altcoins are coming to Wall Street. Take a look. Oh, okay. All right. So this is a different clip. All right. So we're going to go to, all right, this is Kramer. All right. Let's take a look at that one.
We're going to look for these spot Ether ETFs to start today.
I mean, I know, remember Larry Fink was here saying, look, people want it. I think that I've heard the Chevron decision, the Supreme Court decision that took away a lot of the power of agencies. I heard that invoked saying, look, because the SEC is a little challenged here because Chevron says the agencies don't have much power. Obviously, we knew that Gary Gensler was not a big fan, but it doesn't matter. It's been overridden, and the fact that Ether's selling off is just a testament to how much it had been bid up. Not really anything significant.
All right, so typical Kramer. We'll see what the alternative Kramer is playing. And again, remember, this is typical of Kramer on all of crypto. Usually in the early going, right when things start heating up, he's the anti, and then all of a sudden, it's the greatest thing that's ever hit Wall Street. All right, so now we have a clip of Pompliano talking about altcoins coming into Wall Street. Take a look.
What I do think is interesting about the Ethereum ETF approval, and probably the thing I've taken away the most, is less about Ethereum and more about the rest of the market. What this signals to me is that all of the altcoins are going to come to Wall Street. It may take a while. There may need to be some regulatory clarity. They may get treated a certain way, but these things are going to come to Wall Street. And so what went from a 0 to 1, is it going to be Bitcoin, is it not, is now going to be a crypto industry. And the reason why that becomes interesting is because people who have this portfolio model or portfolio approach are going to start to apply that to all of crypto.
That is true. We will see more and more strategies coming in from sophisticated investors moving into the space. We've already seen this even in our own demographic of our channel makeup, is that we're seeing a lot more sophisticated investors that are following the channel. We're seeing a lot more very, in my opinion at least, very interesting questions that come in on DMs and just the communication on our Diamond Circle. I think we're getting into a phase where this could start to shift the dynamic on Wall Street, meaning very positive, much like if you think about how tech stocks really started in the early 2000s to kind of reform the function of what was at that time mostly energy stocks. Could this be the time for crypto coming into all this? I want to get over to a couple of clips here. Actually, I've got one more clip here. Yeah, this is one more clip on Pompliano talking about Solana. Take a look.
What is the Pomp family going to do as it relates to all of this?
I'm highly biased. I sold all of the Ethereum that I owned last year. I bought Solana. It's outperformed. And so
you're now a Solana maximalist.
No. It's the second biggest position. And really the thought process is the Bitcoin position that we own, we're going to continue to hold. But there is an entire other universe there. And so the thought process being you want to be in the asset that is cheaper, faster, and likely going to receive more flows. And if you go and you look at DEX volume, right, decentralized exchanges on Solana is actually eating into the market share of on Ethereum. And so we just think there's a lot more momentum. It's a smaller market cap asset and likely to outperform.
All right, so what you can see here is there, like all investments, there's always a play that goes in a different angle. Obviously with Ethereum, with Anthony Pompliano, he positioned out of it way ahead of all of this, reposition into assets like Solana. Okay, I get that, because many people will look at repositioning in the market, especially in a bear market. Remember, a year ago when he sold his Ethereum, that was pretty much a bear market. And you could say, all right, which one is going to maybe earn me a better position over long term? And I think those are common, decisions that a lot of investors make of rebalancing portfolios. So it's a common scenario that plays out. Solana floor came in with this breaking, another 900 billion asset manager. This, of course, is Hamilton Lane. Now becomes first asset manager to launch a fund on Solana blockchain. And I think the reason this is important to note is that we're seeing a mass of traditional and old school financial institutions starting to make the shift. And I think, with Fink and BlackRock, they themselves have, I think, already kind of set the tone in Wall Street, saying this is the way it's going to be. So get ready. This is what we're going to deal with: real world assets and tokenized securities. So another one. And then you've got a couple other things coming in. Mt. Gox, of course, continuing to move Bitcoin, sends about 340 million over to Bitstamp coming in. So whether or not we continue to see some pressure, because remember, Bitcoin has been kind of a little bit sideways just over the last couple of days, but a nice run up over the last week. And that's the question right now is, can we break that 70K mark? With the pressure coming in from Ethereum, I think that is the real question here. And it also may be one of those times in July and August where we start to see a little bit of that sideways action and then look for fall run-ups. So don't be surprised if we get that for sure. Mt. Gox, you can kind of see some of the activity over on Arkham right here, 5.9 bill setting in right there. And I think this is one to look at. This is a survey that was done here recently. This is 3,500 adults, and it was primarily younger people. And the idea was to really see if there is a huge pressure for, especially in future investments, to go the direction of crypto. And of course, right here, you see 14% owning Bitcoin, primarily young men. This, of course, fiscally conservative and socially liberal. I would say that kind of aligns, but I'd love to see more of a detailed research. I mean, we see a lot of it in our data, on the MSI when we look at what's happening within the market. But again, our data is skewed because we're looking specifically at crypto individuals. I'm curious to see what the interest level is of young investors that maybe have never gone into crypto, because that's, there's been some reports here recently over last year that gave us a lot of that data, but we haven't seen anything mid-year. And I think that's something that we should be looking for, because that could really play into what we may see into a bull run in 2025, if that's where the new investors would come from. So a lot of things happening there. Just as a reminder, hit that right there. We're now over 806 right there. So we should be on our track to hit the 450 mark. We're trying to go in. So make sure and subscribe over into the channel. Last couple of things we'll get to, and then I'll try to get to some questions. And I wanted to take a look real quick here at, okay, we're going to go to the poll real quick. Let's go to that. All right, 84%. Okay, wait a minute. This doesn't make any sense. All right, so 84% saying all-time high. And what was the number on the last poll? Wasn't it like ETH would not meet the early phase of success in the ETF? Okay, so, well, good. Then it's a big ETH. How many? Put that poll back up. I want to see how many people have voted. What was it, like 800? No, 500. Okay, interesting. 84%. That's a pretty strong number. Well, if you're thinking about strong numbers, then you have to look at the adoption things that are going to happen around Ethereum. And what could that be? Well, many of the industries that have been looking at blockchain in the past have been, I would say, more IP oriented. Toyota is doing some interesting things here. How to introduce mobility into the blockchain. And this is pretty much all Ethereum. And this essentially is looking at how a manufacturing powerhouse like Toyota can start to integrate into what they call mobility. Cars are becoming public entities. So mobility 2.0, mobility 3.0, distribution of digitized mobility related rights. I'm not sure if they're thinking ride shares and things like what Elon is talking about with robo-taxi, but the fact that we're starting to see reports and a lot more research coming in from these companies like Toyota jumping into, they call it an MOA, which is the mobility oriented account based on mainstream account abstraction. And their new standard that they're proposing in Ethereum, we're exploring how to redesign or to design MOA. So mobility oriented accounts. So we're proposing designing MOA based on ERC 4337. This is Ethereum. And of course, this is the point. And when you have major manufacturers starting to go in that direction, interesting stuff because you're most likely going to see a lot more manufacturers follow suit. You're probably going to see a lot of other manufacturing in other industries, not just car makers, but industrial supplies, all sorts of things that we could see, especially in something that requires the ability to track all this data and also the interaction with users, because that's where the blockchain comes into play. And Ethereum, of course, is the winning blockchain when it comes to that. So pretty powerful stuff for sure. One other note right here is that don't think that we're resting on the crypto regulation, because that's not true. What's happening right now in DC, as we're talking about all this stuff, is that here's Ron Hammond coming over from the Blockchain Association, talking about that there's a bill coming in to vote tonight. It should pass. So this one is the Financial Technology Protection Act by Zach Nunn. And of course, this is a bipartisan bill, has passed the House twice before under Ted Bunn. And also this is all flying under Senator Gillibrand, which is very pro-crypto. So good point here is there's still positive movement going forward. We will start to have more of the blockchain associations on in the coming weeks, mainly so we can start to figure out what the new presidential candidate's position is, because this White House led under Biden has been, everybody kind of knows the position of what theirs has been. That may not necessarily be the case under Harris. So we'll see how this plays out with the Blockchain Association and others coming into it. All right, did you guys put up another poll? Man, we are poll happy today. All right, let's take a look at the back of this next poll. No, not yet. All right, they're running it. Okay. All right, well, let's get to a couple of questions and get into the charts as well. I'll pull up the chart real quick and get into that. By the way, if you guys everybody's been asking me about this, and this is the indicator that we're using or will be using for our MSI. It is literally, I'm thinking days away from launching, but it may actually launch today. Right now, we're trending up on Bitcoin, still with positive, holding at 65.9, but still on a positive sentiment. And this is something that is a custom indicator that is available to all of our MSI members and also our mastermind members, which is a very tight group that has access directly to me. If you guys are interested in that, check out the Diamond Circle. That's where it all starts. Ethereum trading right now, 34, holding sideways right now. I want to check on, this is the one thing that is a little concerning on Ethereum, is the net volume sentiment is dipping slightly. However, the overall trade sentiment right now holding pretty high, which could indicate a move. So we'll be watching this one right now. Money flow coming up a little bit. There are some things you can tie into this indicator as well, as including MACD, squeeze momentum, some other things. If you're a charter, it's available for you. Let's go into some of the questions. We'll go into some of the questions and then, okay, sorry guys, we got one more thing I want to hit on and then we'll head over to some questions real quick. I think we had an ENS topic, did we? Yeah, right. Oh, okay, all right. Oh, there was one thing I did want to hit on right here, and that is ENS. And I think I can pull it up because we're tracking it. Let me pull it up here. We'll just bring it in real quick. And ENS. All right, let's look at Coinbase because you can grab it there. All right, so there's a spike right there. Let's wait for that to paint in. This one is not quite moving yet. Money flow is actually declining though. A couple of things right now. Trade MSI is softening on this. This may be the top on this one. Let me look here a little closer. Where are we holding it? At 29. This may be wicking out right now for the day. I don't know if this is going to move much more. All right, a couple other things you guys wanted to hit on in terms of questions. ETH will send in about a month. That may be a good timing there, Mike. A month, 30 days in. Yeah, it could be. I mean, with some of the things I think we'll see. And remember, a lot of the events that we start to see in the fall, that's the only concern I would say there is sometimes, you get that PR thunder that gets stolen by some of the bigger chains, Avalanche, Solana, of course, they're holding their stuff. Ripple's going to be going off here in Miami in the fall as well. Sweaty says, is Uniswap going to be affected in this positive way by ETH ETF? I mean, some of the projects maybe, I would say. David Crockett says, still haven't settled the ETF buys. Okay, that's true. That's true. Retail should push the price, but macro conditions need to stabilize first. So Solsan says, I think something everybody's saying, and that is, right now we're still under pressure. Okay, there's still a lot of indicators that still kind of point to the issue that we still are in a recession. And yes, we are starting to see some correction on central banks starting to ease off with rate cuts. Not here in the U.S. yet, even though I think that's coming from Chair Powell. We'll see. Pompliano is crazy. Okay. Alts don't need to be traded on Wall Street. I don't think they do need to be traded on Wall Street. The idea here is if some of these alts get into these funds, that it's going to create curiosity. And I think that's the question. Can you create curiosity on Wall Street with an entire alternative ecosystem from exchanges to DeFi, et cetera, that could generate interest in decentralized finance? I think that's where you have to come in. Because remember, you need a little bit of mainstream juice to be able to start to push people that way. Listen, that's how I got into crypto, was coming off of mainstream, seeing a little bit of pushback and saying, well, if they're pushing back, what are they afraid of? And I think that was one of the big things that kind of pushed me into crypto for the very first time. Janik says, I voted no ATH, but I believe 20K ETH in 2025. Woo! All right, that's a big one. I like that. 2025. ETC will be 10K, ETH will be 10K by November 6th. You like that right before the election. Okay, maybe. I mean, that's. I'm not going to agree with that one. I think it's probably going to be a little bit later. Love this. ETH should hit 5,500 this year. That's a little bit more in the framework of what I would look at. You know, again, this is just looking at trends, cycles. The key here, guys, again, I cannot stress this enough. You're going to see a rate cut, most likely. The question is when that happens. If it falls later in the year, then you're going to see some push, I think, on especially alternative assets, maybe into Q1. So it may not happen in the end of 2024 and push into 2025. Let's see here. Matt says ETH hitting all-time highs is not great gains, but yes, that's true. It's not great from here. But remember, a lot of people have been in Ethereum from other points in time. If you go back and just take a look at ETH's most recent position right there. Yeah, I mean, look at the run-up back here. This was in January. Let's take a look at where you'd be if you were back on that run-up date. Holding it right now. Nice 56%. Still a good solid move on an asset that is very solid itself. So is there any stock that's doing that for you that you would say? Because I would consider Ethereum as quality as any S&P 500, in my opinion. Of course, that's me, obviously very pro crypto. Akeem the Dream says, no one really talking about Fidelity now offering Litecoin with Ethereum and Bitcoin. You know, I love the fact that they're doing it, and we talk to them every once in a while. We talk to the digital team over there. I love the fact that, you know, with Fidelity, this is something that many people, I think, will still maybe question, because if you're doing direct, you can get Ethereum and Bitcoin available in Fidelity right now. Can't move it out, but a lot of people that are investing in those kind of platforms probably not even interested in moving into, you know, self-custody or any of those kind of things. So. But you're right, Litecoin available. ETH is here to stay. We got a lot. Paul, do you see HBAR, Stellar, and Algorand getting an ETF? Interesting you asked that question, Road Rage. Here's why. Because we had Mance Harmon in an interview this week. We're going to be dropping that video. This is the one of the co-founders of Hedera, HBAR. And they had a lot of interesting things to say, including what might look like down the first, and they actually broke some pretty interesting news around just security of crypto. You guys should watch that when we drop. I don't know if we're going to drop it today or tomorrow, but we are going to be dropping an HBAR video this week. So be on the lookout for that. What about AVAX ETF? You know, well, you know, if you read between the tea leaves and you listen to John Wu, the president of Avalanche, he's been on record in CNBC studios talking about that very point, is that why not? You know, why not Avalanche? So Avalanche very strong, also starting to recover a little bit. Let's take a look at Avalanche right now. Nice little move here over the last little bit, holding pretty solid on 3 of the 4 sentiments bars that we're looking at right there. I'll zoom in on that for you guys. Holding in right now. Net volume sentiment, that's one I'm always looking at right here. Versus trade sentiment. This one's starting to break over. We could see another move upwards. But this right here is obviously why we're seeing the downtrend on these two trading days here with Avalanche coming back into the range of 29. So holding that position. What was that nice gain coming off that bottom? I'll go from the wick and even to the right there. Trading at 34% almost in 2 weeks. Not bad. All right. Good stuff. What else do we have here? David Crockett says Bitcoin is for being hodled on centralized exchanges, not for use. I like that. Okay, fine. No problem there. Pompliano, a Bitcoin and a Sol Maxi. Why do they have him on ETH Day? That's kind of a question our team asked. Why that? Should have been, where's Vitalik in all this? I'm sure. Why haven't we seen a Vitalik interview yet on that? ETH ETF premium will follow. I agree with that. There's people already talking about that. We dropped a video the other day. As we start to see things potentially positioning and transitioning out of DC when it comes to the SEC, and what I'm talking about is Gensler. We did a whole video on this, of potentially Gensler stepping away. If Gensler steps away, pressure gets kind of intriguing, and could we see Hester Pierce walk in as the new chair? And if that is so, she's been on record talking about staking with Ethereum. So very interesting times ahead for sure. A lot of resignations being thrown out there this week. We just had Cheadle, Secret Service resignation today, the Gensler resignation coming in. What's going on in DC? What's going on, guys? What is up with that? Sol require L2s. It remains to be seen how architectural decisions play out in the long term. Complex stuff like state blows. Who knows? One thing I will say, Splutta, is that you guys have the best names. I tell you, there's no other channel, no other community out there that has such a vibrant YouTube community than you guys. But the question and the answer there is this. When you look at early stage technology, and this has happened so many times, whether you go back into the evolution of touchscreen, the evolution of internet, evolution of mobile, social, all of those were technological shifts. And I still think that we're in that phase right now with crypto. And it's likely either there is a chain that either has not made its complete evolution, or we're going to see a drill down, whether it is, I won't say, that you'd see mergers and things, but you could see a drill down into 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 blockchains start to become the powerhouses, much like the Mag 7. And when you think about Silicon Valley, as we started to see those powerhouses come out, because as the money starts to move in to these projects, but also into the investment side, that's when things start changing pretty quickly, especially in mass adoption curves. So, Paul, what happened to the portfolio did a couple years ago? Updates. Man, we are killing it, of course. That's right. Jerry, I haven't seen you in the comments for a long time. We should do another portfolio video just for you. What about memes? Shall the market be cleansed, or have they come to stay? I think memes are here to stay, man. I think there's just too many opportunities, too many brands, too many influencers, too many personalities. It just is part of, it's just part of crypto. I think it will always be part of crypto. It just is. And it's much like social. There's certain things you just cannot remove from a technology. I think memes are one. ETH trading on Charles Schwab. Yep. I wonder if US ETF will help promote the Canadian one. You never know. You're talking about the Canadian ETF, I'm assuming. I don't know if we're going to see a lot of movement there on the Canadian ETFs. From what's happening here in the US. This is something I argue all the time on the show here, because I get a lot of asset managers that talk to me about this, and they really kind of center in on the US as being the dominant marketplace for all of these things, and this is where the money is made. So I get that, I understand that. I don't know that we'll see too much in, even though I do think Asia will come in to play. Now we've got the poll ready, so we got our third poll for today. What do we have on this one? Do you know a family or friend that would now consider investing in an ETH ETF in a brokerage account? Everybody says no. They're like, I'm not going to the brokerages. Okay, all right. Well, the 31% of you are saying yes. Here's something, guys. I just want you to think about this for a second. Just ponder this for a moment. There's a lot of people out there right now, probably watching this show for the very first time, and you're thinking, what the hell is this guy talking about? What is all this crypto stuff? The point is these people are curious. They're starting to understand that, oh, there might be something here. And you, people that understand crypto, you should be embracing those people. You should be helping foster their growth, helping foster their knowledge, their education. So think about it that way. And I know you don't tell family members, nobody would ever tell anybody to go do that. But you should always tell them, go educate yourselves. Learn a little bit more about this one, learn a little bit more about that one, and then let yourself kind of go down the rabbit hole. That's how you get people starting to migrate into what's happening in crypto. And I think that's the most important thing, especially for young individuals, because they have the opportunity to be able to kind of shift their future. And those are the people under 30, under 35, they have the chance right now to completely shift away from what has been a systemized investment past into a decentralized investment future that could change, I think, globally. So you got to think about it that way. Don't think of just, no, they're just not ready. I don't want to, bother them with that. People are open to change if they're willing to learn. The key here is, are they interested in education? If they are, then you'll get there. Keep doing the longer lives so we have a chance to get in here. I like it. Okay, Jonathan, we'll try to do some more like this. The guys wanted to go a little bit longer today just to take a look at some things. So, we're going to try it. We try to do it. Even though the market's a little bit red right now, Arbitrum, the only one that's moving. Look at that. Helium on the move right now. Nice job, Helium. That's a good one too. And of course, this is another Solana blockchain project. Helium Mobile, another one we've been watching for a while. I'm waiting for ETH to have a good breakout and rally. Will take a couple of weeks, hopefully. I agree with that one, Juliana. See, guys, by the way, we want more women in the comments. We love to see the females because they temper, hopefully they temper the comments a little bit when people are gentlemen in the comments. You always like to be gentlemen, yes, in the comments. Terry McDonald comes in and says, if altcoin season beginning, it ain't a good start. Everything's on red right now. Hey, listen, remember, it moves in cycles, all right? You get a run, it tempers. You get another run, it tempers. A couple days, weeks, and then bam, eventually you see those parabolic moves. I don't think we're anywhere near those parabolic times just yet because a lot has got to happen. You've got interest rates still under pressure. CPI has still got to move downward. You've got an election coming in. You've got a repositioning of the global economy. And you got all these situations happening with, global conflicts. This is not the time you're going to see these kind of moves unless we see a black swan. If we see a black swan, one way on positive or negative, those are the ones I'm always concerned about because those are, in many cases, are unpredictable. And listen, that hurts all markets for sure. All right, we're going to get out of here. If you guys are not part of the Diamond Circle, make sure and get in right now. It is the one place that you get additional content from me. We do custom content over there. We do chart breakdowns, all sorts of additional stuff that does not make it here on YouTube. So join the Diamond Circle. We've got a community. You can chat with a lot of people. I'm in there on those chats, going back and forth with a lot of people that come in, both on our mastermind group. So we'll leave a link down below. And of course, if you're not following me on X, just do that. It's @Paul Barron. Catch you next time right here on TechPath.